Hey brain, hey buddy. I know you're just trying to protect me right now, but remember that not everyone is paying that much attention to you. And even if they were, what's more important is how you feel. Welcome to Season 3 of Self-Care-ish, a show about being selfish with care. I'm Megan, your host, and each week we riff on different ways to nourish yourself after a divorce, or if you're on a dating or self-dating journey. Either way, I'm so happy we found each other. Let's get into it. Okay, welcome back to Self-Care-ish, a show where we take the stainless steel pot that is our post-married life, add a few metaphorical, emotional vegetables, and a few pinches of salt, and call it a soup. Or let's just call it a place where we get to come together and appreciate some of the good, bad, and just the interesting things that come out of living a life you didn't expect to live. Although, looking at the divorce stats at the moment, I would say it's about a 50-50 pot shot on whether or not most of us end up having to create a life 2.0 around the time we hit our 30s or 40s. Like it's just a thing at the moment. But rediscovering yourself and rebuilding your life on your terms is probably one of the most brilliant and exciting things that comes out of a breakup or divorce. Let's be honest here. Or if you've never been married, you already know this. There is almost a sense of childlike abandon that comes over people when they first break up after their bad relationship. Yes, there are tears. Yes, there's often pain. But after that part, you start to notice the sun shining a little brighter and the birds chirping a little more melodically. And the world suddenly becomes your oyster. It's amazing. It's a beautiful thing. And then you get to ask yourself questions like, well, what do I want to do with my life? How do I want to live? Who do I want to be? Who would I like to date? There's possibilities out the wazoo. And it's a great feeling, and I wish I could bottle it for you if you're not there yet. I get it. Or maybe you've passed that stage and you've been single for a while and the sheen has worn off, and, that part's inevitable too, because that's what life is. It's never static. It's just this wavy flow of ups and downs and merry-go-rounds. You already know that. And one of the things I've been musing on lately is something I think that we all struggle with, especially if you are as chronically online as I am. And that is the feeling of lack. Lack. Could I say that more intensely? Lack. Or the feeling that something just might be missing. Every time I think I'm pretty good at shaking off the societal conditioning to be constantly improving or, bettering myself, that feeling creeps back in. And for me lately, it looks a lot like my brain sitting inside my head going, so you got this job, you got an apartment, you got a few nice things to wear. It sounds a little bit like a Cat Stevens song, a little bit. But then there's the voice that goes, yeah, but do you have a boyfriend? Do you have a partner? And that has been one of the biggest things for me to unlearn after my marriage, because I did immediately jump into something pretty quickly after my husband and I broke up. And at the time, I felt like I was justified with the whole, well, I've been technically roommates with him for so long, so it's fine. But upon analysis, like many people, I realized I fell into the trap of, well, I'm single, which means I must automatically start looking for a partner or be dating in the pursuit of. Just that feeling like you have to be constantly on the search, inverted commas. And it's like that line from Pride and Prejudice, It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man or woman in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife or husband. I updated it for the new millennium. And Jane Austen wrote that line 211 years ago, and we are still here, feeling like if we've ticked off X and Y, then we should automatically need to find Z to be complete. But this feeling of lack, I think, extends way beyond dating as well. And after this beat, I'll explain what I mean. Give me enough wine, and I will talk to you about capitalism. And I can't help it because I am very openly a conflicted capitalist because I love stuff. I love making money and I love saving money and I love spending money. I love the feeling of wanting to achieve a goal and then making it over the finish line. And that is a trait that capitalism loves. But I'm also conflicted because, as you and I both know, capitalism also lives and dies by perpetuating this myth of lack. Your teeth aren't white enough? Quick, buy these strips and wear them for half an hour every day. Yes, they'll make your gums hurt, but who cares? Your entire self-image is in jeopardy without this. Or, clean girl aesthetic is out. Eclectic grandpa aesthetic is in, and you need the Adidas Samba sneakers to match. I actually bought those last week. I think one of the greatest things ever invented is the concept of the capsule wardrobe, because it's this idea that you only need a few key pieces and then your wardrobe and your daily dressing time is set and done complete. But, of course, capitalism says you need these key pieces in order to make it work. Capitalism. I love it. It's genius. So if you're like me and you're trying to balance your societal conditioning for superficial desires, which isn't all bad, with a little soul-nourishing realness and practicality, here are a few tips I've learned on how to come back down to earth whenever you feel like you're missing out on something, whether that be the latest Adidas Samba sneakers, whiter teeth, or a romantic partner. And the first step is to cultivate enormous gratitude, because capitalism hates gratitude. Because it is the cornerstone of abundance. And when you focus on what you have rather than what you lack, you create a positive energy vortex that attracts more blessings into your life. This is why I start each day with my journal without fail. And I practice this thing that looks a little deranged called positive journaling. And I originally started this in COVID lockdown to stay sane. And it looks totally unhinged. Like if you were someone who just randomly stumbled on the pages of my book, you'd be like, wait, where's the dirt? And it's not complicated. I just start each day by writing down 5 things I'm truly grateful for. So it might be like in COVID, it was really hard. So I was like, I'm so grateful to have a warm bed. I am so grateful to have, clean drinking water. I went right down to the minutia and I did more than 5 every day. And now I love going back over them because I can see how the things I'm grateful for have evolved over the years. I'm not going to BS you. Some days it's easy and some days it feels like pulling teeth. But I do it every day because usually afterwards I do feel better. Okay, the next thing I do is I practice generosity. Now I'm not 100% the best at this. There are times of the month where I'm feeling a little more benevolent than others, but it's just tied to that old adage of you get what you give, because the act of giving is a very powerful way to shift your mindset from scarcity to abundance. So when you give freely your time, your energy, your stuff, you send this message, to the universe that you trust in the abundance of it and are open to receiving its blessings in return, just to get a little bit woo-woo for you. So, for example, this is major for me. So the other day I did something totally out of character and unhinged for me, but it felt amazing. And I almost posted about it on social media while I was doing it, but I realized how lame and virtue signaling it would be. So I'm just going to talk about it here on the pod as a compromise. So still getting the kudos, but not really. But I paid for someone's groceries. I didn't, cure cancer. But yeah, I did pay for someone's groceries and it was the biggest rush I've experienced for such a long time. And so I was at Woolworths, which is our, local supermarket if you're not Australian. And it was 8 a.m. and I just dropped my son off at school and I was standing in line. It wasn't really busy and I just thought, fuck it. I've heard of people doing this and I'm just going to do this at least once before I die. Because while I've been generous with friends and family, I've never done it to a stranger. Beyond just, giving my change to someone on the street. You know what I mean? So I noticed that when someone was done scanning and it didn't look like it was going to be out of my budget, I just walked up with my card and said, hey, this is random, but can I just pay for your groceries today? I'm doing this to practice generosity and I just want to tap and go. And when I tell you, they looked so stunned, but I felt so good afterwards, and it was like being high 100%. And they were so happy, and I was happy, and it was a 10 out of 10 experience. Definitely recommend that this week. But the final tip I have to get out of a lack funk is probably the hardest one, and that is to release limiting beliefs, or as I like to call it, just stop negging yourself out, because basically all our fears and limiting beliefs have been conditioned into us through a multitude of things: your parents, society, advertising, social media, your friends, which is why you always hear these self-help gurus going on and on about making sure you surround yourself with positive people. And those feelings are going to spring up, like it's inevitable, but what is important is recognizing when they do. Now, I practice this because, as you know, I have PMDD. So for about 2 weeks of the month, I am terrible at this. I'm also the best at this at the same time, because I have to practice this stuff so hard in order to stay functioning in life. So it's really just a simple act of noticing when a negging or limiting belief or a sense of lack creeps on and talking it down like a fucking toddler. So for instance, I think I've got about 10 more days until my PMDD monster creeps in. And it usually starts whispering things like, you should delete that selfie off your Instagram. You don't look that great and you look like you're trying too hard. Or, you should really stop podcasting because you're being too noisy and nobody likes someone who's too opinionated, etc., etc., etc. Those are the couple of big ones that spring up for me, but only for that very special section of the month. And some months are better than others. But what I do is I toddler talk those beliefs down. So it goes like, hey brain, hey buddy, I know you're just trying to protect me right now, but remember that not everyone is paying that much attention to you. And even if they were, what's more important is how you feel. So the other one is, hey brain, hey bud, I know you're trying to make sure you fit into the herd and stay palatable for everyone, but that wouldn't make you happy in the long run. So it's okay. I see you there. Just take a breath. And again, I'm going to use the word unhinged because I do it in my head, or sometimes I'll be in the car and I'll speak it out loud, but I swear it works most of the time. Now, you can ask my sister how many times I call her for a cry when this doesn't work perfectly, but it's called a practice because you have to practice it. But all right. I hope you liked this short and sharp episode this week. I have some very cool interviews coming up, but I had a little break in the schedule and I love just riffing with you one-on-one. And if you want to get in touch with me, I'm on Instagram and TikTok at Megan McTavish, or you can sign up to the Substack at selfcare-ish.com.au. Every month I put out a little newsletter of ideas of things to help you treat yourself as an act of self-care, and I categorize them into like expensive, mid-range, and cheap and free. So hope you sign up for that one. I've got the new one brewing right now, and I will see you next week.